Hey, what's up guys? In the last two episodes of this series, we have already done a very good job on our portfolio websites. In this episode, which will be the last episode, we will cover the projects section, the contact section, the footer. We will make our portfolios to be mobile responsive, and finally, I'll show you how you can host your portfolio website for free on Netlify. In case you're new here, my name is Charles. I am a JavaScript developer, a coffee lover, and I create coding content here on YouTube. Now that sounds awesome, so make sure you subscribe and turn on post notification so that you don't miss any of my videos. In case you want to reach out to me, you can do so through my email, which is chaocharles@gmail.com, or you can do so through Twitter at chaocharles. Now let's start writing down the HTML structure of our project section. So open your index.html file with your code editor, and after closing the section tag of our services section, I will add a new section with a class of projects. So section dot projects, enter, and then we will also add an ID of projects. So ID will be equal to projects, and inside here we will have several divs. The first div will hold our title. So let me just show you. So the first div will hold our title here and a brief description of this section. So I will add a div with a class of title heading. So dot title heading hyphen heading, enter, and then we will have a h2. So h2, and this h2 will hold this project's text. So I'll paste it right there, and then we will have a p tag which will hold this text. These are some of my recent projects, and I'll paste it here. Next, we will have another div which will hold a single project. So this div will have a similar layout to these other divs. So let's create the first one. I'll add a div with a class of project item, enter, and then this single div will have two other divs. One will hold the image of the project, and the other one will hold the content. So I will add a div with a class of project img. So dot project hyphen img, enter, and then this div will also have another class, and this class is has hyphen margin hyphen right. So this will help us to set a margin right between our image and this content, okay, in desktop mode. So this is the mobile mode we have here. So inside this div we will have an image. So img, and this image will have a source of images, and then we will have the image for that particular project. In my case, it's this one here, sppms.png, and then I'll close this one, and I can check if it have gone through. So I'll scroll at the bottom, and you can see the image was added. Next, we will have a div which will hold the text, and this div will have a class of project description. So dot project hyphen description, enter, and then in here we will have the project name. So this particular project name, and this will be a h2, and then I'll copy this one and paste it in here. The next thing we will have is a p tag, and this will hold this particular paragraph, and I'll just copy the text and paste it in here. I'll save the file to auto format that long line, and then at the end here we will have a link to the source code, and you can also add a link to a live project. Okay, so for me, I'll just add a link to the source code. So this link will have a class of project link. So a dot project hyphen link, enter, and then the href will be this the link to that project. But for now, I'll just use hash as a placeholder, and you can add a target of underscore blank so that you can open this link on a new tab. And then let's start by adding the icon I, which have a class of, and this is a font awesome icon class, far hyphen github, and then you can add area hidden to be true for accessibility purposes, and I'll close this, and then inside the I tags you can add the text, and right here we'll just say view code. I'll save the file to auto format that long line, and that's it for the HTML structure for this particular project. Now the layout will be similar for the other two projects. So I'll just select the div with the class of project item and copy the whole of this block of code up to this div. I'll copy, and then after closing this div I will paste 2 times. So that's the first and then the second time, and we will now customize each section. And to start with, you can see that the image for this project is at the end. So all we need to do is to copy this div, cut it, and bring it below the project description div. So I can select, and I see the closing is at this point. So I enter and paste that image right there. And then let's customize further because the image is not the same. I will delete this one and say to do. So that is the image for this project. And then let's change our h2 here. So I will delete this one and then copy this and paste it in here. I'll copy the text and replace this one with what I just copied. I will save, and then I'll come to this last project and customize it also. So I'll just change the image to be calculator and change the title here to be calculator. Change the paragraph, so I'll just copy this one, copy, and then I'll select this one and paste it there, save to auto format, and then that's it. But in your case, also make sure that view code points to the correct link. Okay, so that's the HTML part of our project section. I'll just expand this so that you can see clearly and not miss anything. So yeah, so we can preview our section. So I'll come here and you can see the way it looks at the moment, but we are going to make it look much better with CSS. So let's jump right into the CSS file, main.css in my case, and right here I'll add a comment, projects, and we can continue to style them. I'll select the project's class and we will add a padding of 3 rem top and bottom, and then 0 left right. We will add a min height of 100 VH. We will add a max width of 70 rem and a margin of auto. This will center the content, so we can make this bigger and preview what we have. Okay, now I'll select the .has margin right class, so .has hyphen margin hyphen right, and this will give it a margin of 0 for the top, right will give it 3 rem, bottom will give it 0, and left will give it 0. Now let's select the project item class dot project hyphen item, and this one will give it a display of flex. So this will place our image and the content to be side by side, and then we will align items. So align items to be center. So this will center the content, so you can see the image have shifted, and then we will justify content to be center. We will set margin of 0 for the top. For the right, we will give it 1.45 rem. For the bottom, we'll give it 5 rem. So you can see there is a good distance there. And then for the left, we'll also give it a 1.45 rem. Now let's select the section that holds our image, and we gave it a class of project img. So dot project hyphen img, and all we will do here is to give it a flex of 1. And just to mention, this flex of 1 will be similar to what we had done with our about text box. Flex of 1 will set flex grow to be 1, flex shrink to be 1, and flex basis to be 0. So it's just similar to these, okay? So now let's select our content, and we gave it a class of project description. So dot project hyphen description, and we'll also set a flex of 1. So these two styles will allow the image and the content here to occupy equal spacing, and you can see now it looks much better. Okay, now let's go ahead and start styling our content here, and we will start with this title, and then later we will come to our paragraph. So right here I'll say dot project hyphen description, and we select the H2, and the first thing that we can do is to set the font size to be 2 rem, and then we can set the margin top and bottom to be 2 rem and left right to be 0, so there is a good spacing between the heading and the paragraph. Let's set the linear gradient, and this linear gradient we have already done it before, so I'll just scroll up and look for it. Copy the whole of these, even the web kits, and I'll just paste it here, so that will give our title to have some linear gradient, which is cool. Now let's go ahead and style our paragraph. So I'll select the paragraph dot project description, and then we select the P. The first thing that I'll do is to change the font family to be Poppins and a fallback of sans serif. We will set a font size of 1.4 rem, so it now looks much better. Let's go ahead and select our link here. So I'll come at the bottom here and say dot project hyphen link, and we'll give it a display of inline block, and then we will set margin top and bottom to be 2 rem, and then left right will be 0, and then we can give it a font size so that it's much more visible of 1.4 rem. So that's it for the styling, and if I preview this on the desktop mode, you can see that it's already looking good. And there is one more thing that we need to fix with this section of our to-do app. So I'll go back to the code and go to the index.html file, and that is to do with our has margin right class. And what I can do is look for this section and change this class from our image, because we shifted the image from the top to the bottom, and I'll cut it and include it on our project description so that it can give a good margin right to our content. So now when we preview, it will look much better. Next, we'll move on to the contact section. In this section, I want us to handle the contact section together with the footer. But before we do that, we can do some final touches on our project section, e.g. adding a spacing between the icon and the text here, and also adding a horizontal line at the end of this section. So the only thing that we need to do is to add a spacing just before we write the text, and that will create some spacing between the icon and the text. So I'll do this for the rest of the projects, and that's it. Now, before we close the section tag, I'll also add a HR so that we get our horizontal line at the very bottom, and there we go. So if I maximize this, you can see it now. Let's continue and start working on our contact section. So just after closing the section tag for the projects, I'll add a new section with a class of contact. So section dot contact, enter, and we will also add an ID of contact. So ID will be equal to contact. Now inside this section tags, we will add a h2, so which will be this text right here, and we will have two p tags. So right here I will add a h2, and this h2 will hold the get in touch text. So I'll just copy that and paste it here, and then we will have two p tags. In the first p tag will hold our text here, so I'll just copy that and paste it here. We will also have another p tag, and inside this p tag we will have an I tag, which will make our text to be italics. So I'll just copy this and paste it here, and you can see that this is in bolds. So what you can do is to wrap our gig here with strong tags. Okay, so right here you can say strong, and I cross it. I will cut the gig and paste it inside the strong tags, so that will make it bold. Now the next part is our social media icons and the email, and we will wrap this one inside a container. We will add a div with a class of container, enter, and then in here we will have a p tag for each one of these links. So I'll just say p, and in here we will have a link, and the first one is to our email. So this one will be a href, and the href will be mail to. So this is for the email, and then full colon, and you can enter your email right here, and mine is chowcharles@gmail.com, and then I'll close this tag, and in here we want to add an icon for the email, and also we add the text. So I'll add an I tag with a class of far hyphen envelope hyphen open, and remember this is a font awesome icons class name. Okay, and then I'll close this, and in here we can add the text. I'll add a space and type Chaoo Charles at gmail.com, and I can preview that and see if it's going through. So I'll scroll at the bottom. I'm not sure if you can see mine, but it is there and the icon is not visible. So when I check the class name of the icon, I spelled envelope incorrectly, so I'll add an E and that will fix it. Okay, now let's go forward and add the other links. So I'll add a p tag, and then we'll do the same thing as we did here. We'll add an a tag, and this href will point to a different location, and it's the link to either YouTube, Dev, or Twitter. And in this case, I'll just add a hash, and then you can add a target of underscore blank, and this will make it to open on a new tab, and then you can add the icon in here. So it's the same thing we did at the top there. So it's an eye which will have a font awesome class, and this time this is fab far hyphen YouTube, and I can close that and then add a closing tag. In between here, I'll start with the spacing and the text will be YouTube. And I'll close the quotes here, okay, so that it works correctly. Now let's go ahead and style the next one. I'll just copy this and paste it 2 more times. The only thing that I'll do is to change the icon together with the text. Let me just start with the text. This one will be dev, this one will be Twitter, and this one will have a class name of fab for dev. This one will have a class name of fab for Twitter. So that's it for our links here. We can also add a horizontal line just before we close the section tag. So I'll add the HR right here. So I can preview that and you can see all our links were added, and also the icons are there. We will style this later with CSS, but for now I also want us to lay the HTML structure for our footer. After closing this section tag, I will add a new tag, and this one will be footer. Inside the footer tag, we can first add these links that are right here. So I'll add a div with a class of footer nav. So dot footer hyphen nav, enter, and inside here we'll add several a tags, and they will have a class of footer nav link. So a dot footer hyphen nav hyphen link, enter, and then these will be similar for the rest. So I'll first copy it and then paste it, I think it's 5 times. So that is the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. Now we can customize each one of them. This will go to hash landing page, landing hyphen page, and we will call it home. and then this one will go to hash about, and I'll call it about. This one will go to hash services, and we will call it services. This one will go to hash projects, and we will call it projects. And finally, we will have hash contact, and we will call it contact. And that's it. Now let's go ahead and add this section which have text. I'll add a new div with a class of footer hyphen coded by, so dot footer hyphen coded hyphen by, enter, and we will have two p tags. The first one will be the first line, the second one will be the second line. So in here I will create a p tag, and the first p tag have an icon. So let's add the icon I, and it have a class of fast far hyphen code, and I'll close that. And then just after the icon we will add width, and this is an emoji. I'll just copy the emoji and paste it in here, and then I'll say by Chaoo Charles, and copy, and then semicolon. So this right here will create this symbol. At the end here we'll add 2020. Now let's go ahead and create the next p tag. So I will enter there p, and here I'll just copy the text, copy, and I'll paste it in here, and then we will have another div which will hold our icons here, and this div will have a class of footer social. So just after crossing this div I'll add another div with a class of footer hyphen social, enter, and then this will be links which have icons, and or actually I'll just copy one of these and paste it here, and this will go to YouTube, so you can put a real link. I'll just leave it at hash, and then it won't have any class name, so I will remove this and add a target instead, because it's an external link, and this will be underscore blank, and here we will add the icon. I'll just go at the top here and copy the icon for YouTube, because we had already added it, and I just want the icon, not the text. So I'll copy that class name with the I, and then come right here and paste it, and also remember to close it. Okay, and then I'll copy the whole of this and paste it 2 more times. So the first and the second, Now all I need to do is to change the icons here. This will be fab for dev, and this one will be Twitter. So now I will preview if everything is fine. So I'll come here, scroll at the bottom, and you can see all the links were added and the icons were also added. So let's go ahead and start styling these two sections. I will open the main.css file, and after the project link I'll add a comment, and this will be contact. So styling the contact section here, let's start by selecting the contact class, and then we will add a width of 100%. We will add a min height of 100 VH. We will add a max width of 70 rem, and then we will add a margin of auto. We will select the H2 for the contact. So at the bottom here I will say dot contact H2, and we will give it a text align of center, and then we'll give it a font size of 2.5 rem. So get in touch is much bigger, and then we will add a margin bottom of 5 rem. So there is a good spacing between that text and this one. Now let's select the p tags dot contact p, and we'll change the font family to be Poppins with a fallback of sans serif, and then we will add a font size of 1.4 m. We will add a padding of 0. We will add a margin top and bottom will be 0.9 rem. So there is a good spacing between the paragraphs, and then left and right will be 2 rem, so that it's not too much at the edge, so we can now see the whole of the text. Now let's go ahead and select this container which contain our links, and I'll come here and say dot contact, and then dot container. Let's give this one a min height, and we'll give it a min height of 50 VH, and then we'll give it a display of flex, and then we'll give it a justify hyphen content to be space evenly, and then we give it an align items of center, so they'll come at the center here. When we preview this, you can see it's exactly what we have in this one, the complete site. And when we come to making this mobile responsive, all we will do is to change the flex direction to be column. Okay, so let's continue and style our footer. So I'll add a new comment, and this one will be footer, and then we can select the footer element, and we give it a width of 100%. We also give it a max width of 70 rem, a margin of outer, this will center everything, and then a padding of 2.5 rem, and we will change the color to be hash 8a 8a 8a, so this will be grayish, and then we will add a text align of center, and this will center the text. So there we go. And then let's add a font size of 1.2 rem. We add a display of flex, and then we justify the content to be spaced evenly, and we also change the flex direction to be column. Now let's go ahead and select our A's here. So I'll come here and say footer and select A tag, and then we will give it a margin of top and bottom to be 0, and then left and right to be 0.2 rem. So this will create a spacing between the text. Now let's go ahead and select our paragraphs here, and we used a class of footer coded by, so dot footer hyphen coded hyphen by, and then we will add a margin of top and bottom to be 2 rem, and left right to be 0. So this will create a spacing between our links and the paragraph, and also with the social icons here. Let's now select our social icons, and we will use this class dot footer hyphen social, and we select the A tag, and then we'll give it a margin of top and bottom to be 0, and then left and right to be 0.5 rem. We will also change the font size to be 2 rem. So if I scroll at the bottom, they are now much bigger. Now this is what we have. And then there is one thing that I have realized. We don't have a hover effect on our links here, so you can add a color or a hover effect on these links, and it's pretty simple. Or you can do, this is a global styling, so I can take it to be at the top of the page, and here we added for our nav sidebar. I'll copy this color and take it to our global styles, where we had global styles, and I'll add a hover effect for all the links. So a full colon hover, and in here I'll paste what I just copied. And now if I hover through this all these rings, you can see that we have a cool hover effect. So that's it for the portfolio desktop version. The next big thing that we are going to do is to make the whole of this portfolio to be mobile responsive. In this section, I want us to make our portfolios to be mobile responsive. But before we continue, we have a tiny issue on our contact section. And when I come to the side navbar and navigate to the contact section, you can see that the text is at the very top. But when I come on what I had already worked on and go to the contact section, you can see that we have some good spacing here. So this is much readable than this one. And also when we look at our email, it's also smaller. It have a different text. It's bold and small than what we have here. So let's just address those two tiny issues. It will take less than a minute. And what I can do is to come at this dot contact class. We select it in CSS, and then we will add a padding top of about 5 rem, and this will create that top spacing. And for the email, what we can do is to change the position of our text from inside the I tags to outside the I tags. So I'll paste it there and also create a spacing here for the icon. Now you can see that it looks much better. And then for the heading, when I go to the contact section, you can see now we have some good spacing like we have in here. So now let's go ahead and start making our portfolio to be mobile responsive. I'll go into the main.css file and scroll at the bottom, and then what I'll do is to add a comment, and I'll say responsive design. So what we use to make websites to be mobile responsive is what we call at media queries. Okay, and these media queries allow us to set the screen size or breakpoints and apply different stylings depending on those breakpoints. Okay, now for example, the first breakpoint, I want it to be at 750px. So when I come here and inspect right here, and then I'll move out of the mobile mode. So I'll click that, and you can see the size of the screen right here. when I scroll, I'll just look at the top here, you'll see the size of the screen, and I look for 750 px. Okay, just about there. Now what I want to do is to start applying a different style at this breakpoint. So when we go less than this, we will change the font size and some other stuff so that it doesn't snap to the next line. Okay, so let's start by setting the breakpoint. What we can do is to say at media, and then in here we can set a max width of 750 px. So when the screen snaps below this width, it will apply the different styling that we are going to introduce here. But when it's above it, all the styling that is above will be applied, and what is below here will be ignored. And I can just show you an example, a simple example. So main message, p tag, and change the color to red. So when I come back and scroll at the top, you can see that this p tag is now red, but when I go above 750 px, it will go back to white. When I go below 750 px, it will change the color to red. So almost there. So you can see that is how we deal with mobile responsiveness. So this is just an example to make you understand what is happening here, and I hope you have. So what I wanted to do here is to select the H3, which is this text right here, and what I'll do is to change the font size so that it stops snapping to the next line. So I'll say font size to be 3 rem, and you can see now that this is one whole line. So for the mobile, we will decrease this font size further, but for now that is cool. Now let's go ahead and go to our about container right here, and we move this photo at the top. So what we can do is to select the about class dot about, and then dot container, and we change the flex direction to be column, and you can see now that our photo is at the top here and the text is below. So that section is cool, and we can also decrease the font size for our p tag. Actually, I'll select all the p tags and change the font size. So right here, I'll just select the p tag and then set the font size to be 1.3 rem. So it will have a much smaller text. And then I'll go to the services tire and select the title heading. So dot title heading, and I'll give it a margin of 0. And then I'll select the services tire, each of these tires. So at the bottom here, I'll say dot services hyphen tires, and I'll give it a gap of 0. Remember, we use CSS grid here, and all I'm doing is to make them these tires to be closer on mobile mode so that there is no too much white spaces. Okay, and then I'll go to the project items right here. So I'll select the project item class dot project hyphen item, and then I'll change the flex direction. So flex direction to column. So this will move the project image at the top here and the text here. But for this one, the text will be at the top and the image at the bottom. But now the text occupy a wider width, which is more readable and responsive. Let's add more styling so that we can have distinction between these two projects. So first of all, I'll start by setting align items to be flex start, and then I will set the padding to be 2 rem, and then I will set a box shadow to be 0, 20 px, 30 px, 0, and set an RGBA of 212, 255, 255, and an opacity of 0.15. So it will add a box shadow for each project item, and now we can easily distinguish between them. So this is cool, and let's continue. I will select the image here. On mobile, I think it's just too big, and what I'll do is to set a width. So dot project hyphen img, and I'll set a width of 20 rem. So you can see that now it's much smaller, but on the desktop mode it will still be big. So when I go to the desktop mode, I remove this one, and you can see the styling is different, but on mobile mode the styling is still responsive. Now let's go ahead and continue styling, and what I'll do is to create another breakpoint. Okay, and this breakpoint will now be smaller than the 750 px. So I'll set another at media. So right here I'll say at media and set a breakpoint max width to be 665 px. And just to mention, you can also use min width. Just do some more research on media queries and responsive designs in CSS. There's much to it than what we have here. Okay, but this will still work for us. So I'll select the main message again, and I'll change the top to be 55% H2, and I'll change the letter spacing. So letter hyphen spacing to be 1 rem, and then I will change the font size to be 1.5 RAM, and I'll change the width to be 29 characters, and it's much smaller, which will be cool on mobile. And then I'll go ahead and select this h3 again. So dot main message h3, and I'll change the font size to be 2 RAM. So you can see this is much smaller, which will be cool on mobile. And then I'll select the P, so dot main message again, and select the P, and I'll also change the font size to be 1.3 RAM. So that is also smaller, which is cool on mobile. Let's go ahead and select our buttons here. So dot btn, I'll change the border radius, border hyphen radius, to be 0.9 RAM, and then I will change the padding top and bottom will be 0.9 RAM, left right will be 0.9 RAM. Okay, so it's much smaller now. And then let's select the about h2, which is this one here, and so this will be about. Remember to add a period there, hyphen text hyphen box, and then we select the h2, and I'll add a font size of 3 RAM and a margin bottom of 20px. And then let's select the text. So again, dot about text box, and I'll select the P, and then I'll set a margin of 0 top, 0 right, 0 right, and then 2.45 RAM for the bottom. And then I'll go ahead and go to the services section. I'll select the title heading. I think this was h2, right? So right here I'll say dot title heading h2, and I'll give a margin bottom of 2 RAM, and then I'll select the P, this one right here, dot title heading P, and I'll change the font size still to be 1.3 RAM. Now I'll go at the very bottom to our contact section, and what I want to handle is this these links right here. So what we can say is dot contact and then dot container. Remember, we gave it a class name of container, and all we will do is to change the flex direction to be column. So now this is much better, and it's exactly what I have on my complete portfolio website. And we are almost done. Just one more selection. I'll select the footer and also the p tag to be specific. So here footer p, and I'll change the font size to be 1.2 rem, and that's it. Our portfolio is now mobile responsive, and you have seen how we do that. Okay, you just select elements that you think they aren't appearing well on mobile and then design them accordingly. And we use at media queries to create breakpoints. So our portfolio is now complete. This is the desktop version. And the last thing that I want to show you is how you can host your static portfolio website for free on Netlify. In this section, I want to show you how you can deploy your portfolio website for free on Netlify. There are two main ways that you can do this. One is by using Git, and the other one is through drag and drop of your site folder. Using Git is recommended if you are making many future changes, and that is so because all you need to do is to make your changes locally and then push your changes to maybe a GitHub repo which is connected to your Netlify, and then Netlify just auto deploys each time there is a change in that particular branch. But in this video, I am going to show you how to just drag and drop or deploy your site manually. You can see right here, I have deployed this using GitHub and this one using manual deploys. So I will use this manual deploys in this particular section. But if you want me to show you how to do it using Git and GitHub, leave a comment at the comment section below, and I will consider it next. Okay, so all you need to do is to create an account at Netlify. So go to netlify.com and create an account, and you'll see such a page, but yours won't have any projects. But all you can do is to drag and drop your files at this section right here. So when I go to the desktop, I have my portfolio right here. When I open this portfolio, you can see that we have this index file, and this index file is a must, okay, because the server will be looking for this file each time it wants to load your site. So have an index file as the root of your website, and I believe that is what you have. Okay, so we need to just upload the whole of this folder to Netlify. I'll place this at the side and just drag and drop the portfolio. So I'll drop it there and wait for it to complete the upload of the files. So you can continue to setting up a custom domain name and also securing using HTTPS. But if you don't have a custom domain name, don't worry, you can still use your site that way. So we have this long URL. When I open on a new tab, you can see that this is the site that we just created. And to confirm, I can scroll here and you can see all this dummy text, and it looks exactly like we had it locally. Now you can customize the site further because this is hard to remember. So site settings, and all you can do is to change the site name, and this will shorten the URL further. Maybe I can say Chaoo. I don't know. I'll add a P because I already have a site called Chaoo. So Chaoo portfolio. I'll save that, and now the link to this site will be chaop.netlify.app, and you can confirm that by just visiting that particular link. So yeah, that's it. That's how you can easily deploy your site on Netlify. And I hope this whole series was very helpful to you, and at least I hope you have gained something from me. And if you are still thinking of subscribing, please do so because I'll be creating more videos. Also suggest on the comment section on what you want to see next on this channel. That's it. Always stay awesome, and I'll see you next.